Dr. Van Dyke back for more thyroid nodule discussion. I'm a board certified endocrinologist, and we're walking our way through thyroid nodules. When are they risky? When are they not? What do we do about them? So today I want to talk to you about biopsies. We've talked a lot about nodule risk, how do we assess them, TIRAD scores, exposures to radiation, and all that stuff. But let's talk about the actual biopsy. So this is called a fine needle aspiration, which means that we use needles that are a little bit smaller than what we typically draw blood with, okay? And I kind of think of a thyroid nodule biopsy as being somewhat similar to maybe getting a cavity filled at the dentist, all right? So the patient comes in, we put them on the table, we put this neck roll under him because we want that neck to really extend out. It really brings that thyroid to the front so it's easy to feel and find these nodules. We use lidocaine or similar, just like the dentist does, to numb the area that we're working on. And we want to apply that lidocaine to the capsule around the thyroid. That's where all the nerves are. So we get a nice block around the area that we're going to work. We really only want to have a couple of pinpoint areas where we're putting a needle in. We use the ultrasound to show us what we're looking at all the time. So we know precisely where that needle is going and how deep in we're going. It's important that we're wanting to aim for areas of a nodule that are going to give us the most cells. And that means we stay away from areas of a nodule that have cystic fluid or something, or they're sparse looking. And we also kind of aim for the outer edges of a nodule. There's just more cells to yield in that kind of biopsy. So once we have our block and we have our target identified, then we're going to put the needle in and we kind of pull back the plunger as we enter the target area, and that pulls cells up into the needle. Then we take that needle and we kind of do 10 or 20 times, kind of twist as we go. Patients shouldn't feel any of this because we have a good block. And by then, really all they feel is pressure. So we're going to do that anywhere from 4 to 6 times, and that's going to depend on what we're getting out of the nodule each time. One of the passes that we take, we're going to save in our back pocket in a solution called Viricite. And we keep that on hand in case the pathologist says something very specific. Because the pathologist can get these cells and say one of several things. They could say, oh, this thing's benign. I don't care about it. Move on with your life. We do some surveillance. They could say, hey, this thing is, this looks malignant. Now we need to talk about what to do. They could say, there aren't enough cells to make any decision whatsoever. And that happens in like 10 or 15% of thyroid nodule biopsies. And then they could say this other thing that's called atypia of undetermined significance. And this means that the cells look abnormal, but they can't really tell if that's necessarily a bad thing or not. And that's when we're going to reach for that sample that we saved in our back pocket, that Viricite. We're going to send that off for genetic testing, because that'll give us a nice understanding. If these cells are expressing any of the high-risk genes, then we need to make a plan about how we're going to treat this thing, okay? So biopsies, not fun, but when they're done well, the worst part is the lidocaine, all right? And then the rest is just pressure, and it takes about a week or so to get that information back from the pathologist.